Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe for lots more content in the new year. And if you're not new, thanks for joining me again, and let's get started. Writing my name on that first page is always nerve-wracking for me, but I decided to just do a simple calligraphy with my Tombow hard tip brush pen, which by the way is the MVP of this setup. As usual, everything will be linked in the description box below. If you've seen my November bullet journal setup, you'll remember how much I loved playing around with faux craft paper in my journal and using it to complement my simpler spreads. I had to bring out the paper bags for this setup because craft paper is just so neutral and simple, yet it adds so much to the spreads. I also prefer to keep my yearly collection spreads pretty minimal and neutral, so I'm happy with how I was able to achieve a balance. I used a mix between a serif typewriter font and a thin script for all my lettering and numbers in this setup, which just looks really sophisticated and beautiful. I don't know what these flowers are called, but I just doodled random vines with little leaves branching off from them and then scribbled in the petals for an added effect. I also used my white jelly roll pen to highlight the branches on the craft paper. This next spread is a newly famous grid spacing cheat sheet. I first saw it on Amanda Rach Lee's channel, and this has saved me in measuring out weekly spreads for the past 2 years. You just want to count the number of grids on your paper and figure out how to divide your papers into thirds, quarters, and halves. Then, when you're making a spread, you'll easily know how big to make your boxes or how to space everything out. I wrote grid spacing cheat sheet with the serif font and the cute little script for a nice title at the bottom right corner. For my goals page, I added some white paper over the brown craft paper for a more dimensional title and wrote out goals in that serif font. I doodled some more black and white branches and the title was done. I'm separating my goals into 3 categories: writing, academic, and either self-care or health. I'm not sure yet, so I just left it blank. Of course, these aren't filled out yet since it's still a little early, but I love sitting down each new year and thinking of new goals to motivate myself. For the future log, I filled out all the months by hand off camera because it's just a tedious and kind of boring process. My title was done in a lowercase serif font and the months were all thin cursive. For the entire setup, I pretty much only used my Tombow hard tip brush pen, a white jelly roll, and a tan Crayola super tip that for this spread I used to highlight the days of the week. The page was looking a little too bare, so I added some of those vines at the top left and right, branching out from different directions, and then scribbled them in with my Pigma Micron fine liner. This next spread is always one that I'm constantly flipping back to and filling out. I glued in a small brown envelope and stuck a long paper inside to act as though it's being pulled out of the envelope. I don't know about you guys, but whenever my birthday or Christmas comes around, I never have an idea of what I want. So now I just keep a wish list for myself, and whenever I get an idea of something I would want, I put it in here. Usually it's just stuff that I buy myself or things that I need, but it's nice to have. I just write down the item I want and the price, and I'll check it off if I get it, or I cross it out if I don't want it anymore. For my things to check out spread, I alternated between serif and script, which I do a lot in these layouts, and then I glued in some craft paper. I also recently bought these alphabet stamps, and they're so cute and they add such a cool effect. I'm not sure if they actually save me time because I don't have to write out my words that way, because it does take quite a while to find each letter and stamp it in. I just did sections for books and movies/TV shows for my headers, but you can do any categories that you like. If you have a pet, this next spread is perfect for you. I'm always trying to remember important monthly and quarterly dates for my dog Charlie, so I thought I would just dedicate a whole spread to him and track things like when I last bought his food, grooming appointments, medications, and vaccines. This time I put the title at the bottom of the page and added both white and craft paper, layering them and changing up my fonts. I also added those same vines growing from different directions and colored some in with white. I kind of wanted the sections to mimic file folders, so I added different titles and ribbons to each box. Also, if you guys would like any videos about what it's like owning a dog in college or any advice about getting a new puppy, let me know and I can definitely make some videos about that. To make my white Jelly Roll pen stand out over the black ink, I first colored everything in with my Tombow soft tip brush pen and then went over it with a thin cursive. And then for the heart and food sections, I used the serif font for the titles. Next up is a content planner / brain dump page where I can categorize all my ideas for YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I layered on some craft paper in the corner for the title and mixed up my fonts for some added interest. Again, I'm just using these alphabet stamps from Amazon for the categories. It's pretty hard to stamp the letters perfectly next to each other, but I actually like the distorted look that they give. It's really vintage and imperfect and cute. Let me know if you guys have any videos you'd like to see from me because I could definitely use some ideas to fill up this spread. Also, be sure to check out my Instagram and TikTok, they'll both be linked down below. The next two spreads are more for fun and to just get me excited for the new year. The first is a list of 21 things I want to do in 2021, and these can be fun things like swim at the beach or go on a road trip. They can also be a list of small things you want to accomplish throughout the year, like starting a blog or reading a certain amount of books. I wrote the title completely on craft paper and then glued the whole thing onto my journal. For the numbers, I just used my white Jelly Roll pen on top of my Tombow soft tip brush pen. For my 2020 setup, I had a places visited page, but of course it did not get much use due to the pandemic, so I'm hoping that things will start to get better soon this year, and maybe we'll finally be able to go out and explore safely. I cut out a picture of a vintage world map and glued it onto the bottom of the page and then drew a black outline around it to kind of separate it and give a 3D feel. I also drew out little boxes to look like post-it notes and note cards. You can add pictures of the places inside these boxes or just write the names inside. Finally, we're at my favorite spread of all my yearly collections, the year in Polaroids. I got a Polaroid printer, so I'm super excited to fill out these pages with Polaroids. It's not my favorite spread to set up, but once it's filled up with pictures, this spread is the one that I constantly look back at. I alternated the page with some craft paper, making sure those boxes were a little bit bigger than the average Polaroid, so it'd be able to sit on top and be seen through. For those, I added little doodles like clothespins or binder clips so the whole spread would look more like a scrapbook. I just finished everything off with the titles of the months in calligraphy with my Tombow Heart Tip brush pen, and we're finished with the yearly setup. So this is how my 2021 bullet journal setup turned out. I usually keep it really minimal and kind of boring, so I'm really happy with the way it turned out this time when I added some stamps and craft paper to spice things up. If you've enjoyed this setup, please make sure to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Also, let me know in the comments if you plan on adding any of these spreads to your planner or bullet journal. You can also DM me pictures or tag me on Instagram. All my links will be down below. I'd love to see any of your recreations or setups for the new year. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!